Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am James Phoenix, and welcome to the final Around the Pound for the month of April. As you might know, if you've been watching Around the Pounds this month, I am looking at the Kingdom Keepers book series, and today we're going to cover the final book in the series, Book 7, The Insider. Originally, I was going to cover the first book in the sequel trilogy today, but I decided that I'm going to hold off on that one, and I'll cover that trilogy as a separate review down the line when the other two books come out. So instead, today we're going to take a look at the Book 7 and then a brief discussion of the series overall. Joining me, as ever, for this little look here, from the Mole, Chriz the Mole.
Hello.
And from the Shadows Mall, Marcus Shadow.
Yo.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this. And again, I'm just operating as I remember the book for this one. As I highlighted last week, due to my realizing the mediocrity of this look at the books, I will be doing another look at this series with better notes and an actual book-by-book review as I reread the books. That'll be a little more in-depth and a little better. So, stay tuned for that down the line somewhere. And what?
And it'll be just you.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yep, which means none of the people who have problems.
It's ironic because then you connect. Well, you can at least watch it and you can hear the actual full opinions and go from there. But anyway. So, we've come full circle. It's been a long journey since we launched with Disney After Dark. All those books ago.
Mm-hmm.
And our five main heroes, Finn, Willa, Maybeck, Philby, and Charlene have come a long way. They've gained new friends and allies. They've vanquished enemies. It's been a long journey.
And they are in the land of Disney.
And finally, we come home. For those of you who have not been keeping score at home, previously on the Kingdom Keepers, after fighting off the Overtakers, a group of Disney villains who are actually alive by using their powers of being a hologram made out of light, thanks to a Disney program known as DHI, Disney Host Interactive or Daylight Hologram Imaging. They at last fought off the evil Overtakers, Maleficent, and the evil Queen, and their leader Chernobog in the caves of Aruba on a Disney Cruise Line cruise through Central America, through the Panama Canal. The goal of the villains, Maleficent, the evil Queen, and Tia Dalma of Pirates of the Caribbean, who joined them, was to release Chernobog from his state of sleep, or torpor as it's known, so that he could regain his full power and rule the world. Or at least the Disney parks, but probably the world. This was stopped when the Keepers attacked them in the cave in Aruba, and after killing Maleficent by choking her with his bare hands and then a cave-in, the Overtakers were believed to be killed in the cave-in, and everybody kind of went on their way. There was tremendous trauma of things going on. There were evil Overtaker kids who were being used, but there was allies, and there was Finn being mind-controlled by voodoo priestess Tia Dalma into murdering his best friend Dillard from before the Keepers.
If the kids were just being used and manipulated by the Overtakers, are they necessarily evil?
Well, their leader is still a dick bully. I don't know about the rest of them.
Being a dick does not make you evil.
Tell that to Biff Tannen.
Arguably, being a bully does.
True.
Are you seriously eating during my fucking review?
No, I'm drinking. I'm not allowed to drink anymore?
You can drink, but you should learn how to drink. Because it doesn't sound like that. Anyway. Sorry for the little tangent, folks. So, with Book 7, The Insider, we rejoin the Keepers as they have arrived in Anaheim, California at Walt Disneyland. Or just Disneyland, as it's more colloquially known. Upon arrival, the Keepers are generally praised as heroes by the good people of Disney. And good things are showered upon them. They're talked about possible futures attending the Imagineering School. Charlene is made the star of a new Disney Channel show the title or subject of which is not identified. And good things are showered upon everybody, and the keepers have reached their high school graduation. And the book opens with we see them dealing with the ends of high school. We see them go to prom together. Finn goes with Amanda. They have a good time together. It gets a little almost non-Disney when they start talking about how Finn is kissing her on the neck and how much she likes it. Almost went non-Disney. Almost. And then the keepers are, however, summoned in DHI form to Disneyland because weird shit is going on. Because of course it is. Apparently, an assortment of crazy shit's been happening in Disneyland. Specifically, what appear to be ghosts and shit coming out of the Haunted Mansion are kind of everywhere. And it's creepy and weird and it shouldn't be happening. This is in Anaheim, mind you. They are, after being celebrated in Anaheim, they were flown back to Florida for their high school, graduation and whatnot. But except for Charlene, who is still in actual California filming her show, she stayed behind. I think, I'm not positive, or at the very least, she stayed behind for a brief while and then went back. I believe the deal is that she's there filming or something. It's not really specified how the whole show's working with the graduation thing. Anyway. So the keepers are summoned to take a look what kind of weirdness is going on. They're sent out in their DHI forms, which is unfortunately still 1.6 due to the whole weirdness going on with 2.0. They still won't upgrade them again. And upon exploring this, they find all these bad guys are all over the park attacking, at least certain parts of the park attacking things. And they are shocked as they go out there to try to fight these things off for a little while. And they're shocked to see what looks like their mentor Wayne working with the bad guys. Like, what the hell? And Finn doesn't want to believe this, but it seems pretty obvious that Wayne is there. And after seeing this, they are brought into what is effectively a Disney headquarters. There is an organization within Disney. It's top secret. It's run in a secret, top secret, hidden base in Disneyland, because of course it is. And basically, this is a group that was of special Imagineers that were tasked by Walt Disney with dealing with all this Overtaker crap. Basically, there's this. It's like sort of an underground unit that deals with this. That kind of monitors it. They give it like Disney Shield. And I don't mean actual Shield.
I was gonna say, isn't Shield Disney Shield?
Yeah, I was about to say, wouldn't that just be Shield at this point?
The phone live.
Oh, did he get called away by phone?
I have no idea. The phone rang and he went quiet.
I didn't hear the phone ring. Fair enough.
Right. So.
Yeah, Jim. As we were saying, wouldn't that just be Shield at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. But this is Disney Shield.
But Disney owns Shield, therefore it would just be Shield.
I know, but this isn't that kind of Shield. This is a specialized Disney Shield.
I had a question for you, Jim.
I have an answer for you, Mo.
Just to get this out the way first. I know we're going through the whole story or whatever, but who's the main villain of this book?
It's everybody except Maleficent. They survived the cave-in.
Okay, when I have to call bullshit,
feel free.
Just because of what you described it, 5 or 6 books they've been after Maleficent as the head. They finally defeat her. The Overtakers are dead. They can go back to a normal life. That's your ending. That's literally how you would end this series. Dragging them back to then just deal with other shit and just wrap it up. I don't like that as a series ending, if that makes sense. To end the series, I thought their journey seems more complete if Maleficent's been the one who's been a bitch to them since book 1. It makes more sense that she be the villain they defeat in the final story.
It does make sense to that, I agree with you, but the idea was always supposed to be that Maleficent was kind of a pain in their ass, but her only purpose was to bring back her true boss, Chernobog, who is the guy they really needed to defeat, because he's far more powerful than Maleficent once they wake him out of torpor. So that's kind of basically the first villain we primarily see in this book is actually Tia Dalma. She's the one who gets out of the cave first, realizes the shit that went wrong, and she casts some creepy voodoo magic to get the evil queen and Chernobog out of the cave-in and out of there. And they manage to get Chernobog onto a ship, and they ship him up to Anaheim as she mind controls the ship captain and shit with her voodoo magic to make him take her there.
Yeah, but you just said that they faced all the other Disney villains. They never faced Chernobog. So if they had actually faced Chernobog as the final villain, okay, fair enough. But the fact that they're facing all these minor Disney villains that aren't the main villain of this particular story, as Mole put it, and I kind of agree with Mole, it kind of feels... to put it in terms you'd understand, it kind of feels like that 19 years later epilogue of Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the fact of the matter is that there was a cave-in, but Chernobog didn't die, so those who...
They're not facing him, because Mole just asked you who was their final boss in this one, who is the main villain they're facing, and you said it's basically the villains that didn't die. You didn't say Chernobog was going to be the final fight.
No, I didn't.
He's not a villain. To be fair, he is a villain that didn't die.
Yeah, when I said the villains that didn't die, I meant the ones that were in the cave. I said there was a cave-in, and the ones in the cave-in, I said that everybody in the cave-in except Maleficent survived, is what I said.
Yeah, which my point wasn't that it needs to be Chernobog or anything. My point was just Maleficent was in 5 or 6 books. She needs to be there with Chernobog for the final fight.
Yeah. She's been the persistent one.
Which is understandable. I kind of agreed with that, but I understood why they kind of moved it on. Is they had, they used Teodoma's magic to kind of get him back there, and the Evil Queen was still alive to act as the more humanoid counterpart, which I think the purpose there is that, the Evil Queen was the first Disney villain that was created, so it kind of makes sense for her to be on the cover of the last book and to be the one working with Chernobog at the end. I think was kind of what he was going for.
It makes sense from a historical standpoint, but does it make sense from a literary standpoint?
And I said I thought Pete was the first.
Okay, I'll give you that. Pete was technically in the Mickey cartoons before Snow White. You are correct.
But, yes, yeah, it does make sense in terms of the story, and I completely agree that the Evil Queen should be there. It's just, the way this story starts, it's like getting the group back together because the enemy of they've previously been dealing with, all of their minions or whatever, now got together, now there's a bigger threat. That's, in terms of TV, the last book was the season final, and this sounds like the opening of season 2.
It kind of feels like, and you might hate me for saying this, Jim, it kind of feels like what Saban did with the Legendary War. It's like, oh look, we took out the main fight, the main bad guy, and now all these Legendary Rangers come in just to beat up a bunch of putties. It's like, really?
But it's not. It's really an
entire army.
Yeah, it's really not. It's more like what happened is it's more like in the last book they blew up Prince Vakar and now Emperor Mavros trying to take over Disneyland. Is more like what it is. Because Maleficent was there at first, yes, but she was almost more like the Rock or the Vakar. She was kind of a secondary villain who acted as a primary threat, but was not actually the most powerful threat they had to deal with.
Yeah, which makes sense. About she felt like she had such a personal connection with them, with all the stuff she did. Like, she even recruited their bully, as you mentioned. It's like she went out of her way. It's like she was the most personal. She should have been there, at least either A, there for the final fight, or B, Chernobog should have killed her to instantly make him credible for the final fight. Either way, she should have been in the final story.
That would have been interesting.
It would have been like if Saban had taken Goldar and actually had the Rangers outright defeat him, which they never did. He was never defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was such a prominent figure. Well, A, because of the Sentai footage, I would assume, but B, because he was such a prominent figure in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers of always being there, always tormenting and basically the big rival of the Red Ranger Jason and to a lesser extent Tommy, And it's like he was a fan favorite too, and he was just so prevalent in almost every episode that they're like, we can't just have him be defeated. That'd be like shortchanging Goldar. We have to have him there to the very end.
Yeah, that's not shortchanging Goldar. It's not like that would be, I don't know, turning him into a buffoon and having him work for Bulk and Skull.
See, if we were going to go with Power Rangers metaphors, the way this sounds, it sounds more like let's say in MMPR, let's say they actually had a proper final. They defeat Rita and Zed, and then the last episode's against Master Vile.
Yeah, something like that.
Because Maleficent's not exactly a Goldar. She seemed like the main villain. It was just like a spoiler alert: the Beast has a boss.
Pretty much, yeah. And I think there might be a reason behind this. I think I know, because I believe at the time he was already planning the sequel trilogy at the time The Insider was being written. And I feel like what he might have done is he might have decided, okay, we're going to defeat Chronomog as the main threat. We'll have the Evil Queen with him. We'll deal with that threat. But there's still going to be this sequel trilogy with a new threat that's going on. And like I said, she does not appear, but the cover of the sequel book is Maleficent, both in human and dragon form. So I feel like he might have decided that she was going to be the threat that was going to appear that was going to show up in the sequel trilogy to kind of legitimize that. I think was the idea. And if he had her show up in the final and get defeated in that, she would have been defeated twice. And we're like, really, you're back again? This is getting ridiculous.
It works for most villains, but yeah, it's a case of with that as well. When you mentioned the next book or whatever has her on the cover in human and dragon form, but not actually in the book. That's cheap and advertising like fuck. That'd be like if I was to buy the DVD of, say, I don't know, Batman or Blu-ray. If I was to buy the DVD or Blu-ray of, say, Batman: The Dark Knight, and it's got Joker on the front, yet the villain's Penguin.
Ha.
You'd be like, the fuck's going on here? This isn't what I paid for.
Yeah. But in all fairness, it's very well established that these 3 books are one long story. They're not like 3 books just happen to go together. It's not like this 7 series where each book kind of has its, except for the one with the cliffhanger, has its resolution at the end and it's a self-contained story, but part of the greater overarching narrative. This first book in the new series is clearly it clearly cuts off like this is not the end of the story. There's more here. Like it's very yeah, exactly.
It's part
It's
one.
like Lord of the Rings.
It's part 1, Disneyland.
It's part 1, which I could agree with. But if we're doing it like a 3-part story, logically speaking, part 1 you use whatever villains on part 1. Part 2, you at the end maybe resurrect Maleficent, then you put her on the cover of book 3. So you keep it a little shock that she's back.
Which is fair enough. Except the problem is this first one, there really wasn't much of a villain in it, except for the Keeper's own, inability to work together and their frustrations. Unless you're going to put the asshole from the school that Jess and Amanda are attending on there, there's really not a Disney villain to put on there.
What they should have done, and potential spoiler, maybe not so much, but what they should have done for the cover, you have the Kingdom Keepers at the bottom, older now. And then where the Disney villain would normally be, in the prominent background, you have a back-to-back of Old Wayne and Young Wayne.
That would have been badass. I would have approved of that cover.
See, based on how you described them having to get back together and their inability to then rework together and stuff, for the cover, I would have gone with Spider-Man No More. I would have had the kids walking away from their little device and have that as the cover. So it's like, oh, what the fuck's going on here?
That would have also been cool. But it wasn't. It was Maleficent, so we'll figure out how that plays in later. But back to this book. So anyway, basically the Keepers are they're shoving into this top secret Disney Shield organization, where they're basically told that we've been Walt Disney established this back in the day to keep track of the Overtakers and everything that's going on here. Basically, act as the branch of Disney that's in charge of all this supernatural shit that nobody else would actually believe is going on. That's what we do, and the organization's a little bit in flux now because, like I said, they just saw what appeared to be Wayne working with the bad guys. And as they explain, this organization's a bit in flux because the organization has only ever had 2 chairmen in its history. Walt Disney and Wayne Kresge. So without Wayne, they kind of have no leader, and they're a little bit flustered. It's like their Nick Fury disappeared and they don't know what to do. So,
and they don't have a Coulson?
Evidently not. They have one dude who's like the head Imagineer who's kind of temporarily acting as it, but even he's a little bit flustered, and he's sort of like. So you guys don't watch a series, but he's a Coulson, but first of all, it'd be Maria Hill, not Coulson. How dare you be a sexist and disenfranchise her? Number 2, they kind of have a guy who's like the Coulson to Maria Hill, but he's kind of like Coulson after S.H.I.E.L.D. falls in the TV series where he's got like a ragtag group of dudes but doesn't really know what to do until like Fury shows up at the end of season 1 and is like, here's my box of ultimate S.H.I.E.L.D. knowledge. You're the director now. Make shit happen.
Yeah, which I would say with the whole secret organization and all the stuff you just mentioned, what the fuck is wrong with this writer?
Yeah, really.
Oh, Mickey Mouse disappears. None of the heroes have a hero inside themselves, so they all just fall apart. Oh, they've lost their leader this time. They all just fall apart. Seriously, you spent books of them overcoming and looking inside themselves to determine that they are heroes, and they can't get shit done if their leader's gone. It's like Power Rangers, since you guys keep mentioning that. Every time Zordon was taken out, the Rangers stepped the fuck up.
Well, like I said, in this case they are, because in this case they kind of forgot to like, oh God, is Wayne working against us? But Finn immediately steps up and Finn says, I don't care what we saw, because we've been tricked by Overtaker shit before. I don't care what we saw. There's no way Wayne would ever betray us. Wayne would die before betraying us. I don't know what kind of shit they're pulling, but there's no way Wayne betrayed us. And we're going to prove it. We're going to find out.
Well,
and,
to be fair, of course, one of them said that, due to the fact it's a pretty well-established trope, or I don't know what you'd call it, the pitfall or storytelling plot device thing of, if you have one character betray the group, there's always one character who trusts them, so that the audience has the sense of, ooh, are they on our, have they betrayed us? Are they on our side? It makes perfect sense for him to come out and say, well, yeah, I mean, they do that all the time.
Yep. So he does this, and they decide, okay, we got to figure out what the hell's going on. And like I said, because they're only 1.6, shit in the park is getting dangerous, so they've got to be careful. And they proceed to start, once again, following around the bad guys in the park to try to figure out what the hell's going on. And they're told some information by the people, and they realize that the Overtakers must be back at some capacity, or something's going on here. And they're told, eventually they figure out that Chernobog is back in the park after a little while. They figure out that that Tia Dalma has managed to mind control enough people to get him into the park, and the evil queen is there with them, casting some spells to help keep him under cover. And basically, they figure out the plan of the Overtakers is to get Chernobog in the park, and da-da-da-da. And what they're told is, somebody finally at this point brings up the point of, we need the Disney characters to unite and help us. And the other person mentions, well, Ariel explained to us that they, without their leader, there's not much, without their leader, they're a little lost. And so that's when the people at the Top Secret Disney Shield basically explain that, yeah, the thing about Mickey is that the reason Mickey is missing is because Mickey's original drawing was torn apart. It was ripped or cut into pieces. And without the original drawing, there is no Mickey. And basically, I'm trying to remember the details of exactly why it was torn apart. I believe, I want to say that I think Walt Disney did this on purpose because he didn't want Mickey's power to be used for evil. And he hid the pieces to protect people, but it kind of backfired on him because now they don't have Mickey when they actually need him.
Yeah, it kind of backfired him on them using Mickey's power for evil, because have you not seen Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse?
Ha!
Yeah, that, and also, I think the Phantom Blot already did that. So, yeah, sorry, his power was used for evil, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Fair enough.
Plus, there was also a knockoff version of Mickey Mouse in the Arabic countries to try and encourage kids to do terrorism.
Ah.
No,
I didn't hear about that one.
That is a true thing. You can look that up.
Wow. Okay then.
Yeah, he disappeared fast.
Yeah.
I would imagine so.
But book scavenging.
Yeah. So anyway, so they find out that most of the pieces have been found, but there's one piece of the Mickey drawing that's missing out there somewhere. If they could find the last piece, they could bring Mickey back, and he could lead the Disney characters to actually put up a front against all the Overtakers that are uniting here at Disneyland. Because Disneyland has been the heart of the kingdom. It always has been. And if the Overtakers get Disneyland, that basically guarantees that they've won, because they could take the other parks and inevitably the world. So they have to stop them here and now. This is like the final stand. Once again, their friends Jess and Amanda come over as DHIs as well. And Jess had a dream when another one of those pictures to help them figure out where the Mickey piece is, because plot convenience. And basically, they start following the clues to try to find the missing pieces of Mickey Mouse. And they realize that's why they're there, and they've got to
the hidden Mickeys.
Something like that, yes.
It's not. No, it's not tied to the hidden Mickeys.
Sort of. I think the idea, what they explain is that the hidden Mickeys, because the Mickey piece has been missing for like decades, for like a really fucking long time, and it's explained by the Disney Shield people that they wanted, they wanted to try to find the last piece of the Mickey drawing, and that they put the hidden Mickeys in all the parks to kind of inspire people to be looking for Mickeys in the hopes that somebody might inadvertently stumble across the missing Mickey piece. That's the deal there.
Okay, that seems really let down now.
A little bit, yeah.
I hope the hidden Mickeys, they'd follow them and they'd encourage kids to use the hidden Mickeys because, oh my god, yeah, it's going to lead to it would actually lead to the missing piece. Now, oh, we're too lazy to look around this entire park to see if there's a picture of Mickey. I know, let's go around this entire park and leave pictures of Mickey. No.
Yeah, because before Wayne disappeared, he basically told them that Disney's missing piece was hiding out there, and they figure out it's the missing piece of the Mickey, and that's what they need to find to be able to stop the Overtakers once and for all. And so they start running around and basically following clues and things to attempt to find the missing piece, of course. And as they proceed to look around, there's a whole lot of events that go on over the course of the park, and they run into a lot more characters as they're going through the park over the course of a few days, trying to find the piece. As the Overtakers are hiding somewhere in the park and are trying to build up their, again to wake Chernobog out of torpor so they can do this thing. I said they run into a whole lot of different Disney characters that they encourage as they're running around trying to follow clues and figure out what's going on. Madame Leota from the Haunted Mansion. They get attacked by all kinds of. Hey, here's a good one. You guys might like this because this getting the hell out of left field. They get attacked by Judge Doom and the Toon Patrol.
Oh,
nice.
Okay then.
Yeah, figure that out.
Wait, is there actually something to do with him at the park?
I don't know. I feel like there might be. Is there a Roger Rabbit ride there? I'm not positive.
I don't think there's a Roger Rabbit ride, which wouldn't that go in? Which there might be, I don't know. But if it isn't, wouldn't that fall into the thing we've kept mentioning of why don't they use Tron?
Yes. Toontown, Disneyland Park, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
And does that actually feature animatronic versions of all the characters coming to life?
I am not totally sure. Let's see. Ride cast. Let's see. Roger Rabbit, Benny the Cab, Greasy and Psycho, Jessica, Baby Herman, Smartass. It does mention most of the guys. It does not actually mention Judge Doom and the Toon Patrol being there, but I think the assumption is that they would be. If there were real versions of those characters, they would be hiding in the Roger Rabbit thing because other than the people that work there, nobody would suspect them as being there. I think is the general assumption.
Why couldn't Tron be there? Because he would... Come on, what's the logical place for Tron? But in the computer stuff they have when you get to customize and enter computers and do your own virtual reality stuff, it's the perfect place for Tron.
You would think. You would think.
Also, wouldn't he be a second live action?
Yeah, he was a toon. He was just pretending to be live action.
He was still live action for most of the film.
Yeah.
No, he was a toon. He just hit his toon part with sunglasses.
Yes, but he wasn't drawn. He was like a human skin and stuff.
In a human skin, yes.
That's what I meant by live action. He was clearly a live action effect, thus he was live action.
Okay, all I know is he's here with a patrol that they chase him around the park at one point. And, yeah. They chase him around the park and they end up losing him and whatever, they have to run over from him. There is, at one point, no, that was in the other book. Yeah, they start running into a lot of characters at one point. They run into Jafar again, and or no, that was they run into one. Jafar's seen at one point. He doesn't really do much in this book because Jafar's again kind of out for his own means, so he's just kind of there. He doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. He just kind of shows up at one point. And kind of shows up and chases him around a little bit. That's about all that happens with him. But there's one really.
That's a story they could have done.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame that they didn't do as much with Jafar as they could have done. But
I mean, just because you mentioned him in a couple of them, like he's there just doing his own thing and he's always after power. Logically speaking, as well, wouldn't that also be another one if you kept building that up for all of them and stuff? Then when Maleficent was there with Chernobog and she finally summons Chernobog because of what Jafar likes to do, couldn't he have stole Chernobog's power?
That would have been interesting.
So then you have an all-powerful Jafar, and you're like, wait, the fuck just happened?
That would have been a left turn. One of the cool things that happens is they're following these clues all around the park to try to find the missing Mickey piece. Is they at one point they end up in the apartment up in what is out at that park, Sleeping Beauty Castle. And they end up in because there's much like in Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World, there's a little apartment up in Sleeping Beauty Castle. And they end up in this little apartment where they meet Minnie Mouse, the real one, who Finn and Amanda had met previously, as you might recall from one of the earlier books. And the others are kind of all like, "Oh my God, it's Minnie Mouse!" And it's a kind of a cool scene because they come into the apartment as they're following the. They were told to go to the apartment, and they get to the. I think it was a clue or something, or one of the Disney people, I don't remember. But anyway, they were told to go to the apartment, so they get there. Because now they're working with the Disney Shield, who know all the characters are real and whatnot, so now they actually have somebody to reference this shit with. So they're told to go to this apartment, and they get there, and they're kind of looking around, and they don't know what they came there for, and they see all kinds of stuff. It's a big, looking apartment. The Disney stuff everywhere. There's a big stuffed Minnie sitting on a chair in the corner. It's kind of cool. And they're looking around trying to figure out what's going on. And all of a sudden, Violet from The Incredibles, she has that invisibility power. She turns visible, and she basically introduces herself to them. And basically, I'm here as a representative of Queen Minnie. And then they realize that wasn't a stuffed Minnie in the corner. That was actually Minnie. It's like, wow, awkward.
Which means what they did to her, awkward.
Ah. So Queen Minnie gets up, and it's established in the series that King Mickey and Queen Mickey, when he comes in later, and Minnie, they don't actually talk. Because I guess in their original cartoon forms, they didn't actually talk. I mean, there's a little bit of sound effect, but they didn't really have voices, so they don't really talk. Violet acts as a translator for Queen Minnie. I guess she has like telepathy or something and can understand what she's saying. And basically says, we appreciate what you're doing to try to help save, to try to find Mickey and bring him back to help save the kingdom. We're behind you all the way, and the character, even if they're not totally united, the characters are behind you to the extent that they can be. And we're going to work with you, and we're going to get you out of here and get you to the next one. What's going on? And she explains that, we can't go out. Okay, we can't go out the door we came because you can't see him from out here, but I can. That, like Shere Khan, Cyan Am, and a bunch of evil cats are outside the door over there. So we don't want to go that way.
Are the evil cats singing "We Are Siamese"?
Not as far as I know, but they should be. Cyan Am are there, though. Cyan Am, Shere Khan. They offhandedly reference Scar. I'm not sure if he was actually out there or not. But they're a bunch of Disney guys. Basically, they're out there. So, but they're like, now we're going to go out this way, and we're going to sneak out out the window out the back way here. We're going to get you out of here carefully. Luckily, we do have coverage outside. We do have coverage outside. Raja and Bagheera are outside, keeping an eye on the bad guys and ready to jump them if they try to move on you. So,
could Violet not just make them invisible?
Well, that was what she did. She was trying to slip them out the back in invisibility. But there's only, her powers have a limited range and whatnot. So she's trying to, get them out covertly while, not alerting the bad guys, on the other side. So,
right.
So they managed to slip them out the back, and there was a little bit of a fight, and she goes down there and she get away. And
do you know who'd be a better person to go against the whole group of villains?
Who?
The entire Incredibles.
I was about to say, wait, if she knew they were basically walking into a trap and that they've taken over Disneyland, why didn't she give Dad a call and say, Dad, we need some help over here?
Yeah, all of the Incredibles, and based on the fact that Jim mentioned Zurg was there, and there is a Buzz Lightyear thing which takes place within the world of Buzz Lightyear, not within the world of Toy Story, logically, Buzz should have his Space Ranger powers. He's more of a threat than a tiger or a panther, or what the fuck it was.
True.
Yeah, he'd have like wrist blasters and he'd be able to fly and shit.
Yeah. Well, this is how it played out. I don't write this shit. I just read it.
Plus, if he comes with Woody, that's even more firepower because Woody's technically a Wild West guy. So would he not have guns?
Possibly.
Because he's a cowboy, so he would technically have a cowboy pistol.
Yes, but the thing is, Woody would only be able to come from the Toy Story world, whereas Buzz Lightyear had that cartoon show where he was actually a real space ranger, so he would have that's how he'd have his real powers. Woody wouldn't have that.
Unless it was from Woody's Roundup.
True.
Also, there was also the case of, like I mentioned, Star Tours was there. They could have used Star Wars characters, but didn't. Also, You've got stuff like Where's Hercules, and there's so many more people who are credible threats than what they used to go against the villains. Or hell,
if they were
an
going
idea.
more toward if it's all Disney stuff, why the fuck didn't they bring in Gizmo Duck and Darkwing Duck? Come on, man, seriously.
They were sticking to film stuff here. They weren't doing too much with TV shows.
Yeah, or if they're going with the film stuff, based on what came alive in one of the attractions, why didn't they just go? Take the shrink ray from Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, shrink the villains, step on them, over. Literally Mario Kart Lightning this shit.
Nice. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just reading what it says here, and in regards to what you pointed out, Marcus, I make the point that Moles had valid point because Buzz is in the park. These are all based on things that are in the park. That shit's not in the park.
Okay, well, I didn't know if they had a DuckTales or.
No, they don't really have a lot of stuff based on TV shows in the park, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
But there is the Toy Story thing in one of the parks.
That's right. That's why I said the Buzz Lightyear thing was legit, because that is in the park. They do have.
No, I also meant his with Woody as well, because I believe the video game Toy Story Mania, which came out on the PS3 and was a light gun game using the Move, was based on a Disney attraction where you could wear it with Buzz and Woody and stuff with guns.
That's true. That's in California Adventure. You are correct about that. So that is valid. So they could both be there with powers. But anyway, that's what happens. So they managed to get away from those guys. And basically they get chased all around the park. At one point there's a scene where they get jumped by the hyenas, and Zira from Lion King 2 is with them, chasing them around.
Wait, what? Why is she there?
I don't know.
The only reason I say that is I thought most of the stuff was all about the first films and not necessarily about the sequels, hence why Jafar's not an all-powerful genie that can't do fuck all.
Yeah, I don't know why she was randomly inserted. I don't know why. Because Scar was mentioned, but Scar did not appear. I don't know why they didn't want Scar to appear. I didn't really understand that, but they didn't. It was weird. Moving along.
Scar should have appeared, then we could have found out how Hercules got his rug.
There you go. So they're also helped out by some other Disney characters. They run into Timon and Pumbaa at one point, who help them get away for something. The Seven Dwarves help them out. It was kind of cool. They meet them. Cool stuff like that. Remy the Rat and his army of rats come in to help out. That's pretty awesome. A lot of good stuff.
See, that's the thing I was on about. It's stuff like you mentioned with all those characters and stuff. They're not like the main like hero-ish type characters like Hercules or Peter Pan. Hell, Tinkerbell could have sprinkled them all with dust, made them fly. Boom! The Overtakers can't touch them.
Oh, actually, Star Tours might not have been totally off, because it does mention at one point here they were chased by stormtroopers.
So why the hell don't they have Luke and Han and stuff? No, none of this adds up at all.
And I just mentioned at one point they were getting chased by a variety of bad guys, and I think a couple of stormtroopers were in the mix there somewhere. So that was a thing. But there's that. There's this one, and they're basically running from people through the park and trying to follow the clues and find out what's going on. Like I said, I forget a lot of the details because I don't have a summary in front of me. I'll do a better review later. So
because he's forgot a lot of the details. Be honest, Jeff. Or Marcus, be honest, when he says he's forgot a lot of the details but they're being chased throughout the park by a load of villains, are you thinking about him going up and down that staircase he described in the first one in a Scooby-Doo-like way to avoid the villains?
Yes! That would be amazing! If they ever made this like an animated movie series or something, that's how they'd have to animate that sequence.
That would be great. So anyway.
Amazing.
So there's basically a whole bunch of there's a point where they're getting chased. They get chased around the Headless Horseman at one point. They have to get across water to get away from him. Just a wide variety of bad guys start attacking, doing this, that, and the other thing. So yeah, just a whole bunch of different people are attacking them. So they start following the clues, and inevitably they find what is a folder containing all the pieces of Mickey except for the missing one. It's hidden in a file cabinet inside a sealed room behind a wall. Inside, I think it's the fake bank on Main Street, I believe. And they end up finding most of the pieces that had already been collected by the Disney people, and they're just trying to find that last piece, which they do inevitably find. like I said, by the time they find the final piece, all hell has broken loose into the final battle at Walt Disneyland. At this point, it's on. Um, so basically, the Overtakers at this point manage to the evil queen cast some kind of a spell that basically blocks the outside world from Disneyland, so nobody outside Disneyland can actually see what's going on in the park, even if like aircraft fly by and everything. Nobody can actually see what's going on in the park.
How many years ago was this book?
Let's see, this book. Let me double check for you here.
And in case you're wondering, Marcus, I am going somewhere with that.
Okay.
It was not that long ago. Let me see. Here's the Insider. Let's see here. When did this come out? Open this. Open Amazon. This came out almost exactly 1 year ago, on April 1st of 2014.
Okay, then I have to make the question: was that spell a reference to something?
Could be.
Because literally, the Evil Queen, or Regina, as she's called in Once Upon a Time, in season 1, and they're now on 4 seasons, so it would have been out by the time this book was out. One of the things she did was she cast an evil spell over Storybrooke, and the outside world could not see it, but the people inside could live it. Thus, I'm wondering if that's where they got the spell from. You know, like they drew it from that for this to give her extra powers, because it's one of her powers from Once Upon a Time, which people do seem to love.
That is entirely possible. Wouldn't shock me. So, anyway. So basically, all hell starts breaking loose in Walt Disneyland. They basically manage to wake Chernobog up, and he starts basically like fire starts ripping shit apart, and rides start getting destroyed, and the place is going nuts. And the DHR is basically the only thing stopping this at this point. They have help from like Remy's mouse army is running around helping them out, and a rat army, whatever he was, are running around helping them out and trying to lead them where they need to go to get them around this and that. There's one scene where you remember I mentioned in the last book they got about 2 books ago in the 6th book they met this woman who worked this young Asian girl who worked on the ship that was helping them out. Her name was Story Ming. You remember I mentioned that character?
Yep. Mulan?
No, actually.
Okay.
Mulan was actually seen in one of the earlier books where they were running through the park, and they're basically right after. Remember I mentioned there was that scene a few books ago where they were in the park, and they got to pass Jafar when he turned into a snake by playing a little snake charmer tune.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, after they did that. It was pretty funny. He turned into a snake, and they snake charmed him and got away. Well, after that, a little while later on, they ran into Shan Yu, who, being a Hun, is really not the smartest guy and doesn't kind of understand that he's not real, or at least that he's not, this is not his modern world. He's just a character in this world. And he and a couple of his Huns are walking around basically saying, we want your powerful magic too. We know you are sorcerers, and we want your powerful magic. And they're like, no. And so the Huns start chasing them around, and they get rescued by Mulan and some of her soldiers, and they get away in a boat. It's kind of cool.
I also don't understand how this works, slightly, with one little thing.
Okay.
They're being chased by a shit ton of villains.
Yep.
Previously, it was established that not all the characters are in one location. So who the fuck, if they were coming up with which characters would go to what location, put all the villains in one, and Ariel, and then put all the good guys in all the other parks? That makes no sense.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of the bad people here too. Like I said, I went through the list. All the evil cats were there. There was the
That was my point, Jim. There seems to be way more villains than there is heroes in this park.
Yeah, I don't really know. In the last park, it had its fair share of villains too. Because like I said, the Shan Yu thing and the Jafar thing were at the other park in Florida. That wasn't here.
True, but you said Jafar appeared in this one.
He did briefly appear. Like I said, the more powerful Overtakers kind of just went and followed them to California, basically. They basically, half of them stowed away on the ship, and the rest of them just kind of made their own way over there. So a few of them do appear here and there.
Fair enough. It just seemed weird that there's more villains in all the parks than there is heroes. It's like, why aren't all the heroes together?
Because the guys weren't smart enough to migrate there, like the villains.
Well,
The heroes are smarter than the villains in every version of the Disney story. That's why they get defeated.
Like I said, we're gonna get there. So,
No, no.
there's a character of Story Ming, Storey space Ming, Story Ming, who was on the Disney Cruise Line and who had been kind of helping the keepers and providing them clues and telling them to do this and that, and basically kind of working with them. Well, basically, she turns around and betrays them. Turns out, Story Ming, yeah, that stands for Storming. Yeah, that was Ursula in disguise the whole damn time. She'd been leading them to a false sense of security so she could betray them and fuck them over.
Wow.
Yeah. Because unlike most of these nitwit villains who just walk around like I'm evil, Ursula's actually smart.
Which would then beg the question: if she's the only, she seems like the smartest one. It also begs the other question of why the villains attack so much better when their leaders are killed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird how that works sometimes. I don't get it either.
Because that means that Maleficent, as a leader, was completely inept because she couldn't lead an attack this good.
Well, what was explained about Maleficent is that she was the most frightening and she was considered to be the most evil and to be very powerful in terms of the specific things that she could do. But it was generally stated that she was not, in terms of outright being a witch and a sorceress, she was not the most powerful at that particular aspect. She was just more evil, and at the specific things that she did, she was more powerful. You know, the dragon thing, the fireball, she had a lot of knowledge and some power, but it's generally, and then in terms of actually outright casting spells, that was not Maleficent's thing. That was why she worked with the evil queen, and it was stated that Ursula was probably a better spellcasting witch than Maleficent was, too.
Oh, I can totally see that. My point was, if Maleficent's in charge and she's as intelligent and stuff as she was supposed to have been for all these other books leading up to this, why wasn't her attacks as good as when she's defeated?
I don't know. I don't know. Because they weren't as desperate, I guess, because they weren't as desperate, because the defeats basically pushed the Overtakers to be more vicious, and so the attack got more effective because they said, fuck it, we're just going to outright destroy the place. I guess. I don't know. So anyway, this big-ass fight occurs, and the Keepers manage to find the final piece, and there's this, there is a scene, a rather sad scene in here where, you know, basically, as they're going to get the final piece, there's a part where they are getting attacked, and Wayne sacrifices himself to save the Keepers, so they can save the day. You know, basically giving his life so there's a chance for Disney to survive, and it's kind of a big emotional scene, and that spurs them on to find the missing piece and to save the day. That's kind of their inspiration for the end of the book, is that we're going to do this for Wayne. And
He's back in the next book, isn't he?
No, Wayne's still dead.
Hmm?
But like I said, he left him a final clue, and that leads them to spoilers. They go back in time and they meet young Wayne in the 50s.
See, the only reason I thought something like that is that scene would be sad if on a load of the previous ones you mentioned, he hasn't been kidnapped, fake death, or something like that. It's like, this dude dies more than Kenny.
Well, this time he literally did die. They just haven't defined a version of Wayne from before he died.
Yeah.
But at this point, old Wayne is still gone, and now they're working with young Wayne, who doesn't really know much at this point because all he knows is what old Wayne sent a message back in time and told him, so...
You'll get into when you do the review of that later.
We'll get there. So there's this big-ass battle in Disneyland. It's fucking fires everywhere. Shit's getting destroyed. The park is like... Because you have to remember the convenience of California being built on a goddamn fault line. The park basically starts quaking and starts falling apart underneath itself. And it's kind of a freaking mess. And they manage to find the missing piece. And there's this big... I can't remember exactly where in the park it is, but they find the missing piece. And they bring all the pieces together at this big open area in the park, and they set all the pieces on the ground and put them together, and they take out the Stonecutter's quill, Walt's magic pen, which the magic pen, which at this point they still had, because it was after this that the Disney Shield people hid it away or whatever, and they couldn't find it or whatever, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they use the magic pen to reassemble the drawing of Mickey, which comes back together, and it reforms Mickey. And there's this cool scene where there's like this like big golden aura of magic, and Mickey comes out, but he's not Mickey at first. He's Mortimer Mouse, the original character that Walt drew. And as he walks down the steps, he slowly transforms in his different forms over time as he walks down the steps until he hits the bottom step, and he's the Mickey we know. It's kind of awesome. So
Okay, then.
Mickey is restored, and Minnie hugs him. And as they're doing this, all the Disney heroes are gathered around this big ass open area watching this, and they all give a huge cheer when they see this. And they're like, "All right, Mickey's back. Now we're gonna kick some ass." So they basically formulate this plan, and if you're familiar at all with the structure of Walt Disneyland, is basically the villains have set up their base on top of the Matterhorn. You might know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically that's where Chernobog is going to cast his evil and destroy the park and take over. He's up there being evil. So like, all right, we got to get up the Matterhorn and go stop him. So they head off on for this final battle, again using the Disney characters' allies that they can. And at the same time that they're doing this, they also manage to they contact because like I said, the park is sealed out, so even Disney Shield can't get in here. They're communicating from their bunker on the outskirts of the park where they're locked out of the force field. And they basically say to Disney Shield, all right, Mickey's here, but what are we going to do? Because Mickey has been, the thing is, Mickey is now himself to the extent that sort of as we know him now. But the thing is, Mickey's been basically disassembled for like 50 years. So Mickey has no idea what's happened the last 50 years of history.
Right.
So they basically say to him, and basically the Disney Shield guys are like, well, I think Mickey needs his powers. Mickey's power comes from his hat, his blue pointy star hat, and his magic wand. That's where Mickey gets his power from. And they're like, all right, well, where is it? And they're like, well, it's way the fuck not here. That's not really gonna help. They're like, well, can you get it? Like, not in time to stop this shit before Chernobog destroys everything. And Finn is like, wait a minute, I have an idea. You guys can get it, but you can't get it into the park in time. But what if you get it to you? If you get it to you in time? Then scan it and DHI the hat and the wand into the park as holograms. It might not be as powerful as if the real things were here, but it might be enough for Mickey to do what he needs to do. They're like, fuck it, we got no better option, let's do it.
But they have a magic pen. Just draw a new hat.
I'm not sure that works. I'm not totally sure if that would work.
It's a magic pen. The least I'd expect from a magic pen is the ability to draw.
You would think. Like I said, I don't know how the pen works, but anyway, they do this and they get the hat and the wand in, and Mickey is given the hat and the wand, and the magic pen. They give him all the stuff, and basically Mickey manages to as they're doing this, Mickey manages to sort of reassemble the park as over the course of time. But in the meanwhile, the keepers head up toward up the Matterhorn to face Chernobog once and for all. And they climb up there, and the keepers get jumped by bad guys again as they're on their way up, and they fight off some general armies of bad guys and whatnot, and evil spirits, and just massive battle. Think like Countdown to Destruction level battle. And it's just a huge fight. And as they finally get to the top, they see Chernobog is up there, and basically as the other keepers get detained as they're fighting and going through, and Finn is the last one who pushes his way through to get up to Chernobog and to stop him, and basically Finn says no, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this for Wayne. We have to stop this, and he starts this one-on-one fight with Chernobog. And the Evil Queen fights a couple of the others, and they end up managing to take her out of commission. I can't remember how, but they managed to somehow they, I don't remember what they did, but they somehow took her down. And Finn has this big one-on-one fight with Chernobog, and he has this power of this sword. He got a sword from somewhere. I can't remember. I think it was from one of the rides, but he got a sword. I think it's the sword because they found a sword a few books ago in a Viking thing at Epcot that was important. I think it's that sword. Something that they sent it to him. But anyway, he's got this sword. And
I was thinking if it's Disney, wouldn't it be the Sword in the Stone?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. But it's he has a sword.
I would give him if he's going into fucking final battle. Give him Excalibur. Come on.
True. And they're actually escorted up to this. Part of the final battle is they actually as they're prepping.
Or a lightsaber. That would work
as they're prepping for the final battle. They're actually met by Prince Philip. You remember Prince Philip as the prince who married Sleeping Beauty. Well, Prince Philip and his guys on horses are there, and basically Prince Philip, he and his horses are actually disguised in the carousel. That's where they're hidden. It's like a Sleeping Beauty carousel. So they come out of the carousel, and Prince Philip is basically like, we have served as bastions to protect this castle and this park for generations. We will not let evil fall. We are at your service. And basically, Prince Philip helps escort them up to where they need to be for this final battle, and they fight a lot of guys off too and help them out. So it's really cool. And this battle is way more awesome than I'm describing it because I wish I had more detail. I don't. Like I said, future review coming. But so long story very short, they managed to defeat the bad guys. They get up to, and they had this. Finn has this one-on-one fight with Chernobog where he manages to defeat him in the nick of time, but not before basically sacrificing himself in the process to some extent or another, or he tries to anyway, to take Chernobog down once and for all and kill him. And I think he falls off the Matterhorn dramatically and crashes on the ground and dies and some shit. And they managed to defeat Chernobog once and for all. Mickey repairs the park with the magic pen and his wand and puts the park back together. And everybody kind of cheers. And there is I forgot one other scene I should mention. There is a scene leading up to this where there's a big storm coming overhead as well. And they realize the storm is just going to come in and destroy the park more and just make things even worse. And they realize it's a big-ass ice storm that's coming in, and it's basically going to it's gonna just fuck shit up worse and be a problem, and that's where they decided that they had to shoehorn it in, and there are a bunch of characters working together. I don't remember who it was that said it, but one of the Disney characters they're working with, he says, basically says, it's an ice storm. Somebody go get Queen Elsa, and they get Elsa, and Elsa pushes the storm back so they have to buy them more time.
Okay then.
Like yeah, that was shoehorned in. Anyway, so that was
As
a thing.
opposed to.
Yeah, I know. So they do that. So anyway, Finn manages to defeat Chernobog, almost sacrificing himself in the process, but they managed to get him to Megara and Rapunzel, who previously established are healers, and between Rapunzel's magic hair and Megara's healing abilities and established Greek lore, they managed to heal Finn enough that he's still injured as hell, but he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Chernobog, Chernobog is defeated. Tia Dalma and the Evil Queen, like I mentioned, got taken out over the course of the process. And, actually, no, I think Tia Dalma got away. She may show up again. I think she got away, but the Evil Queen got destroyed in the process. And, basically, with Chernobog defeated, the Overtakers are, as far as we know, now gone once and for all, and the parks are finally safe. Mickey has been restored to lead the good characters, and, so that they have their motivation back and they can help defend the park themselves and be there as heroes and whatnot, do their thing, and all is well. The Keepers, again, they finished their high school thing. Charlene goes on to host her show, and some of the others are invited to go to Disney Imagineering School. More on that later. However, Wayne did leave them one final clue: a music box that once belonged to Walt Disney, and a very simple, and a very left to Finn, and a very simple clue: it's about time. The end. So there is your final book. It's a really big, epic fucking battle with all these characters. It really is. I will go into more detail about it when I fully review this series, but it really is epic and amazing. It really is. I said, check it out if you have the opportunity. It really is great. It really is amazing.
It sounds like the concept is great. It sounds like the ideas the author has come up with are great ideas. It just doesn't seem very well thought out.
No. Like I said, you can decide for yourself when I get the full reviews done, and you can actually hear a more accurate plot description and more accurately the events that are going on, and you can decide from there. Like I said, maybe it's not going to change your opinion. It may not, but we'll see.
I'll say I'll pass.
Not fair. Well, like I said, Marcus can watch them, and he can let you know if it sounds like it was better than it was.
No, it's cool. But the only reason why is it sounds bad. And I understand, it may be better once you go back and you manage to read a Wikipedia article or reread the book or something to write it down. But that book, like you mentioned, came out a year ago. If I was to say to Marcus, hey Marcus, tell us what you remember about like the Lego movie that came out a year ago. He's going to go into a lot more detail because it's a lot more memorable. The only things you could remember seem to be really bad. So it's like, well, if you have to push and force yourself to know the good stuff, that's not a book I'd want to read.
Well, like I said, it really was good, but the book is fucking huge. It's like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows size. It's a big ass book. Of course, I'm not going to remember every little thing. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I think you remember. I think you remember more about Harry Potter than you do about this.
Maybe, but I've read Harry Potter multiple times.
Yeah, a long time ago. When was the last time you read Harry Potter?
I skim the books every so often, but yeah, you're right. I give you your point. I'm just saying I've also been more immersed in that Harry Potter world and in people talking about events and this and that, so it helps me to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this I only read once and I haven't been talking about it much except for these reviews. So that's why, I said there's a lot of detail that goes into these books, and when you lose the detail, you lose a lot of. I said if I had a bullet by bullet of major events in the book, I could recall the details around them. I just don't even have that. That's the problem.
Yeah, which
That
was my point. It's like when Lord of the Rings came out as a film. Before the film came out, people who'd only read that book once in high school were able to accurately say all the stuff that was in there because it was that memorable. Where it's like this one doesn't seem memorable unless you force it, and that doesn't seem good to me.
I'm not forcing it. It's a great book series. Like I said, not everything can be Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's not really a fair comparison.
Considering you mentioned it ends with a big epic fight, and therefore there's too much going on to be able to remember every little thing, and it's a huge book, that would be a fair comparison. That was my point of really good stories. People tend to remember about them. Like you even tend to remember really good stories when I talk to you about stuff you've seen or you've read like a year or two ago. Like you talked to me about Star Trek books you've read like a couple of years back once, and you went into huge details about it. This one seems like it's more forgettable unless you really forced to see the details or whatever. And it's like that doesn't sound good to me. It's like the stuff you mentioned seemed bad. If that makes sense, like I'd put this as like I don't know, Twilight level.
Ouch. That's not fair at all.
Yeah.
Why?
Because this isn't fucking schlock. This is actually good. This is a really well-written book series. There's great character development among the characters. I know I didn't highlight that as well as I could have, and I apologize for that. There's great character development, a lot of Disney characters you get to see. There's the awesome backdrop of all the Disney parks and how accurate they all are. It's a really, really great series to get invested in. There's just, so many characters and so much going on that sometimes you forget an event here and there. Yeah, I apologize. I read the book once, like last year. So, yeah, I'm sorry if I don't remember every little detail.
No, like I said, that's fine. It's just a lot. Like I said, a lot of stuff you did remember seemed bad, and you kept saying, "Well, I'd have to reread it to know why it was good." It's like you should understand the fundamental reason of why something.
I didn't have to reread it for why I remember why it was good.
A few times. That was on all the other ones. It's better in the book. You'll have to read it. It goes into more details. Maybe I'm not explaining it right, or maybe I've missed something. That came up a few times, and to be fair with comparing it to Twilight, why I may not like Twilight, the fans of Twilight loved the book. It outsold that book that you mentioned, and the fans of that could talk hours and hours about all the little details and all the little characters and the big end war at the end.
Honestly, I'd like to see Kingdom Keepers become like a Disney movie series. I think that could be awesome if they do it right.
I agree.
That, and if they make it a movie series, they're going to change stuff and they'll probably make it better.
Maybe.
Yeah, if we're going to make it a film, I'd rather they did Kingdom Hearts.
That'd be cool too. This one just seems more like a Disney-esque story, because I could see this movie kind of in the vein of something like Halloween Town. It's kind of the way I'm envisioning it, but of course it'd have to be a hybrid live-action animated, obviously, because all the Disney characters would have to be animated and whatnot. But I think it would be kind of cool. At least that final battle would be a spectacle.
Oh yeah, very much so. It is a very big final battle with things being destroyed all around. There's fire everywhere. The characters trying to help them out. They've got, Remy and his army of rats trying to help out, but a lot of them get killed trying to save the day. And, these characters are getting defeated in that. It's a really big epic battle. It really is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Although I have a feeling if they don't change some of the characters around, I have a feeling there's going to be some logic problems from some of the more die-harder fans of Disney. Like we said, the fuck is Buzz? No Tron? When they're dealing all about computers, really? Come on.
Mm.
But if they add him, I think it'll
Well,
help.
I think it goes back into that whole thing of sticking with characters that are, generally speaking, animated. I know Judge Doom could consider kind of an exception, but it's generally supposed to be just the animated characters, which is why Tron wouldn't be used.
And Jack Sparrow, and Haunted Mansion, and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Haunted Mansion and Pirates are just an attraction coming to life. They're not actually, living characters per se, except for Jack Sparrow himself, who, yes, obviously, and that was one other exception, yes.
And Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Now, all we saw was a snake from that, and that was animatronic and came to life.
Yeah, which the film itself was live action.
Yes, but I'm talking about the actual characters that appear in the books. Yeah, there's a lot. Any rides can come to life as the animatronics, and can come to life. That's not necessarily make them the real characters. That's just animatronics that came to life as part of the, the Overtaker's magic.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah, I don't know what they were, but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, which like I said, I mean, you see stormtroopers, but yet you don't see like Luke or someone like that who would be there to stop those type of people. You see Jafar, yet Aladdin's not really heavily featured. It's like the actual heroes just pushed aside, except for the plot convenience, big epic battle to try and cram as much shit as they can in there, including, as you put it, shoehorned appearances.
Just that one. But yeah, no, like I said, all the characters do show up in the big when Mickey is revived. All the characters are there, and it's kind of this big emotional moment.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have taken that for you to see some of the characters that should have been there all along. Like, if you're going to introduce their villains, you got to introduce them too. I mean, it's kind of pointless to introduce their villains and then not have the heroes that go with the villain.
Which is fair enough, but I think the purpose was more like it was established. After Mickey was gone, the heroes kind of lost their will to fight. It was kind of a big blow to their overall, what do you call that? Their overall confidence in what they were doing. So it kind of hurt them a lot, and that was kind of why the heroes were not as active as they could have been. And they started introducing them more and more as they went. But I think the idea was at the beginning they wanted to establish the keepers themselves and the idea of the backdrop of the parks. But we're going too much into all these characters are here, because that would have overshadowed what really is the backbone of this series, and that's how cool the parks are, and all the accuracy and behind-the-scenes stuff about the parks. That's the backbone of the series.
Yeah, which is fair enough, but I'd say that should have been just the backdrop, and it should have been all about the characters and the story and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It makes sense to want to focus on the new characters, not the old ones. But in doing so, like you said, they lost their will to fight and they realized that they shouldn't even basically try. One of the ones that you pointed out in there was The Incredibles, where their whole film was about them overcoming, so it just pisses all over their film and undoes the message of that film about them learning to overcome and learning to always see the hero inside because Mickey's gone. I don't see the Incredibles seeing Mickey be defeated and just be like, oh, okay, let's go home.
Yep, and also, okay, yeah, you said they lost the will to fight, which is fair enough. Like Mickey's not, they don't have their leader, so there's no structure, and they don't really fight. But I'm sorry, if Jafar shows the fuck up and starts doing shit, and you go to Aladdin and you say, hey, Aladdin, yeah, I know you're kind of bummed out and depressed. I know your leader's not here, but we have a problem. Jafar is running amok. I guarantee you Aladdin will help you out. He may not go with you once he's done there. He might be like, well, since Jafar's here, I'll help you out. But without Mickey, there's no point in trying to, help you with the bigger picture stuff, which is fair enough. And then he shows up at the end when Mickey shows up. That's how you do a character. That's how you do a character right, who needs the leader to be able to be the hero that he once was. That doesn't mean he can't do stuff. That doesn't mean he's not going to have some will to fight, some will to stop evil, because he will help you stop Jafar. If you take Aladdin and go to him and say, Jafar is here and he does nothing, as Mole pointed out with Incredibles, that kind of pisses all over Aladdin. It pisses all over the heroes if you go to them and tell them that their main villain is there and you need their help and they do nothing. If you go to them and say, we need your help to save the world or save all the parks, and they say no because Mickey's not there, okay, fair enough, I would buy that. It's like, I can't help you until my leader comes. But you need my help to stop Jafar? Okay, sure, I'll help you stop Jafar, but that's as far as I go.
Yeah, like I said, my main thing was how convenient some of it seems. Like he mentioned with the shoehorned Elsa thing, it shows that the heroes have their powers. So all the heroes are there and stuff. When they're going to do trying to get Mickey's hat back, I don't know, couldn't they have wished upon it based on the fact they have a genie called
and
Genie?
A star.
Yeah, but I meant surely Genie could have just teleported the hat to him, like done.
That's true.
Semi-phenomenal, nearly cosmic power.
He could still do it. He's still a genie.
But this is before Jafar gets his powers off him, because Jafar's human. Therefore, Genie would be Genie and not Genie wished free.
Yeah, you would just have to find Aladdin, because theoretically, Genie would be with Aladdin, because Aladdin would be the one who has the lamp.
Right.
Which, obviously, Aladdin shows up, I would assume, with everybody else at the end there, so he'd be there.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I believe he is there, yes.
Yeah, which means I thought they would have just done something cool like that, like, oh, Aladdin wishes Genie, and Genie's like, pew! There's the hat and scepter, or whatever it was, or wand.
Wand, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that would have worked so much better than, we're just going to make it hologram, it won't be quite as good. What? No, you have a Genie! Use him!
Yeah, although if they had Genie there, it would kind of make the whole series move. It's like, Genie, yeah? I wish for you to stop Chernobog. Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem is that, Genie has his powers, but there's limitations to this based on, he's real, but, there's limitations. Like I said, I don't think his powers, I don't think Genie could, make, depending on where the hat is, I don't think he could make the hat appear, through the Evil Queen's spell. I don't think that would work. I think that just feels like that wouldn't work to me.
That may not have laughed. I was going to say, that may not have worked, but logically, if they used the hologram one, couldn't he have used his powers to make him corporeal?
That's possible. That would have made sense, yes.
I would have laughed if they'd have taken Genie and his powers before Chernobog is resurrected and be like, okay, so the Overtaker is trying to resurrect Chernobog, right? Uh-huh. Genie? Yeah? I wish for Chernobog to be sent to the Cave of Wonders.
That's not a real place.
It is to them. It exists in Disney universe, so...
Yes, but remember, you have to remember how this works, though. This isn't, everything in Disney is real. This is the characters are real. Their settings are not.
Fair enough.
Okay, so force him to be tied up and have to listen to It's a Small World After All.
It's not right, man. It's a prayer for peace.
But yeah, it's a case of, like I said, the story's just, I don't know, it seems all over the place and stuff like that. It's like if they want to focus on the hero of the new heroes and the new kids, then at the end of the last book, when they freed the human slaves or whatever, couldn't they have redeemed those characters and had them fight alongside the regular DSIs or whatever the fuck you call them when they're in the like with them side by side? Like, oh look, we've now made heroes out of the one. Like, we've forgiven our bullies. They've become better people. We've become better people. Mm-hmm. Charge.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, one more fucked up thing that happens in this book I should really mention because, dear God.
Oh no.
So, you remember how at the end of the last book, Finn was forced under voodoo magic power to murder his best friend Dillard from before the Keeper's thing? Well, tell me this isn't creepy as all hell. And again, this is one of the things that I agree is bad about the books. I will agree. This is weird. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's weird. So, they're having this meeting in Disney Shield, right? Talking about the bad guys and what they're going to do and shit, and what they want to do. And all of a sudden, in walks Dillard. And they're like, you're dead. What the fuck? And they explain to them that, no. This isn't, it's not Dillard. Looks like Dillard, not Dillard. What we did with permission from Dillard's parents, who thought that this would be a way to help the cause is basically they provided us with a whole bunch of home movies and stuff of Dillard, and basically we programmed all that into an AI.
It's Nemesis.
Into an AI DHI. So he is basically he's basically if you think of it this way, he's basically
Nemesis when they killed Data.
How so?
They blew up Data and they had someone who looked exactly like Data. They had to program his memories into at the end. Whatever the hell his name was, B9 or B4 or B2 or
B4. He was originally called B9, but they changed it to B4 before the movie came out. But
yeah, they literally killed Data and then had someone who looked exactly like him have to learn his stuff and get his memories and stuff. Isn't that sort of the same thing with?
Yes, except that B4 never became Data. He was B4 and just happened to have Data's file stored inside him. He never became Data. He was still B4.
Until Abrams track.
See, I thought at the end of the Nemesis thing, where he's starting to whistle and he's acting like Data, I thought, oh, okay, he's going to become Data.
I don't know. Like I said, that never happened in any of the actual media, so...
He said it happened in Abrams' track.
Abrams' track. It's the only way that logically makes sense.
Oh yes, in the tie-in comic they show Data as Captain of the Enterprise, and they mention that he was resurrected through B4. Yes, in that particular version of continuity.
Which is weird because the EU directly contradicts that.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I
actually don't like what the EU do with him, but that's a discussion for another day.
I love what the EU did with him, but anyway, that's a discussion for another day. So they bring in this, basically it's a DHI hologram with the personality and some of the memories and, some of the personality of Dillard, but who is also a walking, literal Disney database. It's tied into the Disney computers. So he is literally a walking Disney encyclopedia that can basically provide them with information a la Data. So they basically start referring to him as, because Finn is having trouble emotionally processing this for obvious reasons. So he's rather to try to help separate this in his mind, whatever this creation is, he starts calling it the Dillard to separate it in his mind, and the Dillard kind of helps them out over the course of this final look, providing Disney information, saying, this way, so on and so forth. We see him and Finn, and he's helping Finn inevitably over time as the Dillard finally starts to, by interacting with Finn, learn more about what the real Dillard was like. He starts to get the personality down a little bit better, and Finn kind of does feel like he has at least a part of his friend back, and it kind of helps him get over the fact he was, that loss of both his friend and the blame for being the one to do it, even though he was under mind control at the time. He blames himself for that death. So it kind of helps him come to terms with that, which helps him, when it comes to have the confidence when it comes to the final battle. So really, it's kind of cool, but it's really fucking weird too.
That is weird. It's also a little fucked up that they choose that. Surely they would have known that to fuck with him mentally and not put him in the right mindset to do battles.
You would think. But that's what it was.
But yeah,
you would have thought they would have known he was the one that killed Dillard.
Well, they knew, and they knew that, and that was that he was under mind control, and their purpose was that this was a way, he could help come over the loss by having a part of his friend back, and that would help soften the blow, so he could come to terms with the loss. He knows full well it's not the real Dillard, and he accepts that, but it feels like having a part of his friend back, and that kind of just helps him feel a little bit better about it. And the Dillard and at one point the Dillard, as he becomes a little more like Dillard, kind of saying to him, the real Dillard's death, the real Dillard's death wasn't your fault, From what I know of who I'm supposed to be, I don't think Dillard would blame you for this, and that kind of helps him come to terms with it a little bit.
Yeah, but I thought that would be, and I can't believe I'm going to have to use this logic, but I thought it'd be like Buffy.
Okay.
Buffy, when she died, Spike was obviously...
Which time?
The second time. But when she died, basically, Spike broke down crying and stuff, and he hated himself a bit because he got thrown off the scaffold, and that's why she had to make the sacrifice. And as a result, when they resurrected Buffy Bot, so that Buffy was essentially still alive for the first episode or two, so it was like a Buffy Bot, he couldn't stand to look at us. It was a constant reminder of his failure. It was a constant reminder of what he'd lost. That's what this should have been. It shouldn't be like he looks at him and goes, okay, I can get over this now.
Well, no, that wasn't immediate. At first, he felt the same way, and he was freaked out by this thing and wanted nothing to do with it. It was only over time of, the other keepers are like, yeah, this is really weird, but, they ends up working with him, and, they just say, Finn, I know you're worried about this, just, spend a little time with him, see what happens. And at first he rejects the whole thing, but as he's basically forced to be around this thing over time, he kind of starts to come to terms with it a little bit. And by the end, the Dillard is a useful member of the team, and he's kind of come to terms with the whole thing.
Yeah, which it seemed weird because you said they did that partly also to help him out with his thing. It's
Well,
like,
that was
I would
that was
think
their-
that would be the opposite reaction.
yeah, that was that was Disney's perspective anyway.
Yeah, but I think we've discussed this enough.
I agree. Stay tuned for my future reviews when I'll go into more depth about these books to give a more accurate review in a solo version of the review, and you guys can. I encourage you at least watch, even if it's just this last one with the big battle, at least watch one of them and see if it sounds better than the way I described it. That's all I ask. Give it a chance. We'll go from there. So thank you two for joining me for this whole series here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate that. Now, Marcus Shadow, would you like to announce the Around the Pounds for the month of May?
Yes, we've decided to kind of keep this format for Around the Pound of, for the most part, every month, one of us is going to choose topics for Around the Pound for that month. And so next month, we're going to talk about movie trailers, because a lot of movie trailers have come out this month because of, I think it's called CinemaCon or something. It's basically like Comic-Con for cinemas. So a lot of or not like Comic-Con.
I thought at this point
cinemas.
Comic-Con was Comic-Con for cinemas.
Yeah, no, it's like E3 for cinemas. It's like all the like big movie studios and directors and stuff came out and announced a lot of stuff for movies, and thus they released a lot of trailers for the upcoming movies. And so we've decided, yeah, we're a little late on this bandwagon, but we decided we're going to talk about them, just kind of review them a little bit and talk about what we like about them and what we don't like and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. So far, what we have slated is we're going to go through, obviously the Batman v Superman one, Jurassic World,
Fantastic.
Star Wars, Fantastic Four. Yeah, those are the four we have slated at the moment. We may decide to go with more, so we may put more than one trailer in
The Little Prince
video. But we'll cross that when we come to it. But those are the four you people listening can at least look forward to in the coming month here.
And
Oh boy, do we have things to talk about.
can we start with either Star Wars or Jurassic World?
Sure. Well, we'll start with Star Wars. We can, since we're rolling off of a Disney month, we'll start with Star Wars.
Yeah, the only reason I said that is the reason we're doing the trailers and stuff was I suggested we do a mole and it bled into a whole month for Batman v Superman. And if my laptop's being made this week, I may not make Around the Pound coming up. Thus, I don't want to miss the Batman Superman one.
That's fair.
Oh, that's true. You know what? If you don't make Around the Pound, the next Around the Pound, then we may not start with Star Wars, because I'd kind of like you to be present for the Star Wars one, since you are the Star Wars guy of the X Pound.
I'm okay with you guys going without me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll see what
it's not Star Wars.
No, not really, but yeah, those are coming up. We'll decide what order we want to do them and stuff coming up. So be on the lookout for that. It should be fun. And but of course, because we're taking a look at trailers, I kind of expect the Around the Pounds for the month of May to be a little bit on the shorter side.
You need the host.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because there isn't much to review, because let's face it, these are like 2-minute trailers.
Yeah, true, but it's also discussing where we think the films can go and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yes, quite.
And there is going to be another topic tied with that I will be bringing up throughout the course of the month. So be on the lookout for that. It should be interesting.
Okay, then. So, thank you for that, Marcus. Once again, I'm James Phoenix. Also, related note, just to mention this, also stay tuned for Lair of the Phoenix coming up in the month of May, because Marcus Shadow and maybe Anastasia Lazenby, if I could talk her into it, we're going to, for 1 month, not going to be a whole season this time, but for 1 month, we're going to bring back our Spring of Star Kid to take a look at Star Kid's 2 new musicals, Annie, a parody, and The Trail to Oregon, as well as any other extraneous Star Kid things we want to talk about. So, well, at least we're doing a couple of Star Kid reviews over the course of the month.
Hey, Jim, Oh, go ahead, Mo.
No, all I said was isn't May summer, but I was just waiting to wrap this up so I can go.
No, summer starts in June. But yes, go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, if you're bringing back like the Spring of Starkey or whatever for the month, can we do that top like 5 or 10 list I wanted to do?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, well, we can make that another episode. Sure, we'll do the top list.
We'll discuss that later. But anyway, go ahead and take us out so Mole can take off.
Yes, alrighty. Well, you two, thank you for joining me. This has been a look at the Kingdom Keepers. There will be a more thorough look on Lair of the Phoenix in the future. And until next time, I'm James Phoenix. It's about time.